Commander Zexathara stood before the memorial wall in the ruins of what had once been the greatest city on Velthros Prime. The crystalline structures that had housed billions of her people now lay shattered, their bioluminescent cores dark and cold. She traced a clawed finger along the inscription etched in their ancient script. Here lies the Velthrosian Empire, architects of their own extinction. The irony wasn't lost on her. She was the last of her kind, kept alive not as a prisoner but as a witness. The humans had insisted on it. "You wanted to understand what happened," came a voice behind her. Dr. Sarah Chen, the human xenoarchaeologist, approached with careful steps. Even after 5 years of working together to document Velthrosian history, the woman still moved with the cautious respect one might show in a graveyard. "I understand perfectly," Zexathara replied, her translation device converting her clicks and whistles into flat human words. "My people were fools. It had started 3 centuries ago when Velthrosian deep space scouts first encountered the expanding human colonies. The creatures were primitive. Barely having achieved faster-than-light travel, their ships crude and inefficient compared to Velthrosian biotechnology. They inhabited only a few dozen worlds, while the Velthrosian Empire spanned 3 galactic arms. The High Council had been unanimous in their assessment. These humans were a pest species that would eventually compete for resources. Better to eliminate them early, before they could spread further. "Your species made one critical error," Dr. Chen said, activating her holographic recorder. "You assumed that technological superiority meant victory was inevitable." Zexathara's 4 eyes dimmed with remembered shame. The Velthrosians had indeed been technologically superior. Their living ships could heal from damage, their weapons were powered by controlled stellar matter, and their warriors were genetically perfected killing machines standing 12 feet tall with exoskeletons that could deflect energy weapons. The first wave of attacks had been devastating. 17 human colonies were reduced to ash within weeks. The humans' crude metal ships were torn apart by Velthrosian biodestroyers. It should have been a swift conquest, but humans, Zexathara had learned, were not like other species. "Phase 1 lasted 2 years, she continued, her voice carrying the weight of bitter memory. "We destroyed their outer colonies, killed millions of them. The High Council celebrated. We expected them to surrender. Instead, the humans did something the Velthrosians had never encountered in their 3 million years of warfare. They adapted faster than anyone thought possible. The second phase saw human ships equipped with new weapons, crude but effective, electromagnetic pulse devices that disrupted Velthrosian bioships' nervous systems. When the Velthrosians developed countermeasures, humans switched to kinetic bombardment. When that was countered, they developed viral weapons that attacked biotechnology directly. Your people fought the last war while we fought the next one," Dr. Chen observed. But it wasn't just their adaptability that had doomed the Velthrosians. It was their inability to comprehend human psychology. When the Velthrosians attacked the human agricultural world of Kepler 442b, they expected to find a demoralized population ready to surrender. Instead, they found civilians who had turned their farming equipment into weapons, children who had rigged their schools with explosives, elderly citizens who chose to detonate themselves rather than allow their hydroponic gardens to fall into enemy hands. "We had conquered 1,000 species," Zexathara said, staring at a mural depicting her people's former glory. "All of them followed logical patterns. When defeated in battle, they surrendered. When faced with extinction, they begged for mercy. When offered vassalage, they gratefully accepted. But not us, Dr. Chen said quietly. Not you. Zexathara's mandibles clicked in what might have been admiration. You became more dangerous when cornered. Every atrocity we committed made you stronger, more creative, more ruthless. We thought we were fighting soldiers. We were fighting an entire species that refused to accept defeat. The turning point had come during the siege of New Geneva. The Velthrosians had surrounded the human fortress world, certain that cutting off supplies would force surrender. Instead, the humans had turned their dying world into a massive kinetic weapon, using gravity generators to deorbit their own moons and hurl them at the Velthrosian fleet. 20,000 bioships, irreplaceable. Vessels that took decades to grow had been destroyed in a single desperate gambit. The humans had sacrificed their entire world to eliminate a fleet that represented half of Velthrosian naval power. The High Council couldn't comprehend it, Zexathara continued. They kept expecting you to act rationally, to value your own lives above victory. They couldn't understand a species that would rather die fighting than live kneeling. The final phase of the war had lasted only 6 months. By then, humans had reverse-engineered enough Velthrosian technology to create hybrid weapons. More importantly, they had learned to think like Velthrosians, while the Velthrosians had never learned to think like humans. The bioplague that ended her species had been elegant in its simplicity. A human-designed virus that made Velthrosian biotechnology turn against its creators. Ships became prisons, weapons became poison, cities became tombs. Within weeks, a 3-million-year-old civilization had collapsed. The humans could have let us all die, Zexathara said. But they didn't. They saved me, preserved our history, built this memorial. They treat our ruins with respect. Dr. Chen nodded. We learned something from your people, too. The importance of understanding our enemies, of not underestimating other species. Zexathara turned to face the human woman. Do you know what the cruelest irony is? If my people had simply made contact instead of attacking, we could have been allies. Human adaptability combined with Velthrosian biotechnology could have built wonders. Perhaps, Dr. Chen said, but that's not how it happened. No. Zexathara agreed, looking back at the memorial wall. My people believed that strength was everything. They never understood that humans don't just have strength. You have will. And will, Dr. Chen, is what separates a species that conquers from a species that endures. As the twin suns of Velthros Prime set through the broken skyline, casting long shadows across the ruins of empire, the last Velthrosian stood silent beside the human who had become her only friend. Tomorrow, they would continue their work, documenting the rise and fall of a civilization that had learned too late that underestimating humanity was the fastest path to extinction. In the end, the Velthrosians had been forgotten, not because they were weak, but because they had failed to understand that some species are willing to lose everything before they surrender anything.